Deadlock over the budget. President Clinton and the Republicans refuse to agree on how the government will spend its money. And what happens if the government starts shutting down as a result? No new applications for Social Security, no new passports. The National Zoo would close its doors, and so would many national parks.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. We begin tonight in a corner, which is precisely what the Congress and the President have managed to back themselves into, not to mention the country, in their determination to best one another politically. The struggle between the White House and the Republican leadership in Congress has descended once again to a mean and nasty fight about the government's finances, while at midnight tonight, the government's authority to spend money technically ends, and many of the services which government extends to the taxpayers will likely be suspended. So we go first to Capitol Hill and ABC's John Cochran.
With no earthly prospect of a quick way out of this mess, the Senate chaplain sought help elsewhere.
And with the looming crisis of governmental shutdown, we ask you to bless the negotiations of this day.
But there were no negotiations, and senators are getting anxious calls from people back home, especially veterans who celebrated Veterans Day, wondering whether their benefit checks will stop.
I want to take the floor to tell the veterans of this country that most certainly they will be paid.
With polls showing that deadlock is hurting Republicans more than President Clinton, Newt Gingrich said people don't understand that the president refuses to bend.
That's his prerogative. He's President of the United States. But I think for the people whose offices will be closed tomorrow, for the citizens who will not be able to get services tomorrow, it's very sad to see the president choose this political game rather than sitting and talking and negotiating like adults.
Republicans have offered a temporary measure that would provide money for federal spending until December 1st, but spending levels would drop 40% during that period, and monthly Medicare premiums would rise in January from $46.10 to $53.50. The first offer of a compromise came from the Republican chairman of the Budget Committee, Pete Domenici.
Perhaps the solution is to freeze that at $46.10 for 3 or 4 months. Everybody wins. The $46.10 means nobody gets an increase, nobody gets a decrease.
But Domenici had trouble selling his compromise to either the White House or even to his fellow Republicans in the House. Bob Dole said Congress will remain in session late tonight, just in case the president wants to negotiate.
We're prepared to act up until midnight or after, if necessary, to prevent a shutdown of the federal government.
But virtually no one expects an 11th-hour compromise that would avert a partial shutdown of the government. If there is any encouraging news out of all this, it is that now that both sides have made their political points, maybe now they'll get down to some real negotiating. John Cochran, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
This is Britt Hume. The president said today that Republicans are trying to use emergency bills to keep the government funded as a way to force through parts of their budget, and he said he would not allow it. Before a group of Democratic activists, it was clear he was warming to the battle.
I will fight it. I am fighting it today. I will fight it tomorrow. I will fight it next week and next month. I will fight it until we get a budget that is fair to all Americans.
The president objects to that stopgap spending bill to keep the government open on 2 grounds. It would increase Medicare premiums in January, and it would hold most other government spending to only 60% of current levels during the 18 days the bill is in effect. Press Secretary McCurry said eliminating the Medicare premium increase would be enough to get talks started, but it would not ensure that the president would sign the bill.
The president is very concerned about 60% funding level. He has made that clear repeatedly in the statements he's made the last 2 days, and that just isn't unacceptable.
So that's a veto.
Continue.
So that means a veto, correct?
It's unacceptable.
Though McCurry never quite said the president would veto the measure on the spending alone, Republicans immediately accused the president of trying to protect higher spending.
The real reason they are vetoing this stopgap spending measure is because they're opposed to cutting spending in the federal government.
The reason this fight has been so fierce is that each side is trying to gain the upper hand for the much larger battle ahead over balancing the budget and on whose terms. Compared to that, this is just a skirmish. Britt Hume, ABC News, the White House. For the record, this is not a unique confrontation.